A sad fact of life is that a lot of actors who appeared in The Facts of Life are no longer with us. From prominent characters to pivotal guest stars, here's everyone we've lost. For the most part, outings about boarding schools hardly portray the folks who are running them as having sunshine and lollipop personalities. So when Charlotte Rae's Different Strokes role as housekeeper Edna Garrett was spun off into being a dorm house mother on The Facts of Life, her goofy yet mature disposition came across as a breath of fresh air.
I grew out of it before I grew into it.
It happens to the best of us, dear.
Before her turn in the primetime spotlight, Rae initially scored parts in live theatrical dramas, a major staple of network television back in the 1950s. The following decade, she began to grab more consistent appearances in series like From These Roots and Car 54, Where Are You? By the 70s, Rae enjoyed a recurring role as a postal worker during the early years of Sesame Street and guest bits on sitcoms like All in the Family and Good Times before earning a regular paycheck on Different Strokes. Rae left The Facts of Life after 7 seasons, finding subsequent work on shows like ER and The King of Queens, as well as voiceovers for the animated TV series 101 Dalmatians. After facing many cancer-related illnesses, she died of bone cancer at 92. When Charlotte Rae left The Facts of Life in 1986, Leachman stepped into the house mother role as Edna Garrett's sister, Beverly Ann Stickle.
When I was your age, my confidant was Wilma. Wilma the Weasel, they call her.
By the time she was cast, she was already well established in Hollywood. Her initial acting forays included televised live theater in the 50s and movies that eventually resulted in a Best Supporting Actress Oscar for the 1971 drama The Last Picture Show. However, Leachman was best known for playing nosy landlady Phyllis Lindstrom on the groundbreaking 70s sitcom The Mary Tyler Moore Show and on her short-lived spin-off Phyllis, a role that would land her 2 Emmys. Leachman's adeptness in comedy and drama allowed her to make a name for herself in Hollywood, and these qualities kept her working well after The Facts of Life became history. Playing senile grandmother Ida in Malcolm in the Middle, she received another Emmy. She also managed to land recurring character parts in TV shows like Raising Hope, in addition to showing up in movies like The Longest Yard and Spanglish. Leachman died of natural causes at 94. Who can forget Headmaster Stephen Bradley?
Here I am, the only headmaster that makes house calls. How are you, girl?
Bradley was portrayed by actor John Lawlor for the entirety of the first season before being replaced by Roger Perry, who played the new headmaster, Charles Parker, starting in season 3. Besides The Facts of Life, Lawlor was also best known for his role as Leonard Marsh in Phyllis, a spin-off of The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Lawlor went on to appear in a wide variety of TV shows throughout the remainder of his career, such as Cold Case, Breaking Bad, and Longmire. He also landed small parts in a few films. Lawlor passed away on February 13th, 2025, at the age of 83. Robert Alda, father of Alan Alda of MASH fame, had one pivotal appearance on The Facts of Life, Edna Garrett's ex-husband who wants to remarry her, until he's discovered teaching the boarding school girls how to gamble.
First thing you learn in poker is when to fold your hand. But there'll be other games. Other times.
Alda was an accomplished thespian by the time he took this role. In addition to appearing in Broadway productions and live televised theater shows, he scored roles in numerous films like Rhapsody in Blue, Cloak and Dagger, and The Beast with 5 Fingers. He even had his own program in the mid-50s, The Robert Alda Show. His success rubbed off on his son Alan, with whom he duetted in Abbott and Costello's Send-Ups. When his son wanted to go into acting full-time, he made sure he first finished his drama studies at Fordham University. After that, the two would work periodically together, including on MASH, where Robert played visiting surgeon Dr. Anthony Borelli. Robert died at 72 from complications from a stroke. Canadian actor Conrad Bain will always be remembered most for his portrayal of Philip Drummond, the big-hearted businessman who adopts 2 children from Harlem on the 70s sitcom Different Strokes. And of course, he also reprised his role in an episode of The Facts of Life.
Mr. Drummond, you're early. Good.
Well, we missed you. Besides, my 2 boys have never seen a harvest fair.
But his success began back in the mid-50s when he landed his first TV role as Dr. Charles Weldon on The Edge of Night. He'd get another recurring role as a hotel clerk in the 60s on the gothic daytime drama Dark Shadows, followed by cameos on a handful of made-for-TV specials. By 1972, he landed a more memorable character role as Dr. Arthur Harmon on the politically driven sitcom Maude. By the time Maude ended its run in 1978, Bain was already positioned to star in Different Strokes, which premiered later that fall. Bain reportedly died of natural causes at 89. Orson Bean's career began in the 1950s. He had numerous Broadway stints, appeared on game shows like What's My Line and I've Got a Secret, and also showed up on landmark programs like The Ed Sullivan Show and The Tonight Show. In fact, he appeared more than 200 times on the latter. Even after those glory days, Bean remained prolific and appeared on numerous TV shows, including 3 episodes of The Facts of Life, in which he played Oliver Thompson, a love interest of house mother Beverly Ann Stickle.
Oh, by the way, Oliver, I've thought it over and you can't see other women.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
He even received a Grammy for the soundtrack to a 70s animated version of The Hobbit, where he voiced Bilbo Baggins. As far as movies go, his most memorable role is likely that of Dr. Lester in Being John Malkovich. The 91-year-old was killed in a pedestrian car accident in Venice, California on February 7, 2020. When the producers of Different Strokes created a spin-off, The Facts of Life, tapping the show's scene-stealing Gary Coleman to help launch the first episode was a no-brainer.
Ow! You lied to me. We're not brothers anymore. From now on, we're distant cousins.
It only made marketing sense, since at the time, Coleman was one of TV's biggest stars at just 11 years old, with a trust account allegedly worth $18 million. But Coleman struggled to balance celebrity life with the growing pains of adolescence, the latter compromised by autoimmunity ailments that stunted his development. Going through life at a maximum height of 4 feet 8 inches and requiring heart surgery, 2 kidney transplants, and frequent medical attention was tough enough. It didn't make it easy to land roles once Different Strokes left the air in 1986. As for that trust account he finally had access to at 18, he was reportedly dismayed when he found out it only contained $220,000. He sued his parents and handlers, but was relegated to random appearances on shows like Married with Children and The Simpsons. Other cameos limited Coleman to playing himself. Reduced at one point to working as a security guard, Coleman died of a brain hemorrhage at 42. If you're looking for a template for what set the standard for celebrity status, credit Zsa Zsa Gabor, who almost single-handedly crafted the mold that would eventually yield the likes of Paris Hilton and the Kardashian clan. More bluntly, the Los Angeles Times summed up the native Hungarian's notoriety as someone who was famous for being famous. Granted, Gabor did a bit of acting, starting with appearances in 50s outings like Lovely to Look At and the original Moulin Rouge. But her key to the gilded gates of glamour was to marry rich, 9 times to be exact. One notable exception was when she played Countess Calvet on an episode of The Facts of Life, a role that arguably required little preparation.
You do smell like orchids.
These are lilies of the valley. Orchids make me sick.
Gabor enjoyed the upper crust lifestyle until she died of a heart attack at the age of 99. Sheldon Leonard acted in dozens of movies in the 1940s and 50s, in a lot of blink and you'll miss him roles. Within that extensive portfolio, however, Leonard was likely most memorable as the bartender Nick in the Yuletide classic It's a Wonderful Life. But the 3-time Emmy Award winner's work behind the camera allowed Leonard to particularly distinguish himself as a director, producer, and writer. His first big coup was producing The Danny Thomas Show, which ran for 11 seasons, starting in 1953, before working on subsequent outings like The Dick Van Dyke Show and Gomer Pyle, USMC. He even broke a social barrier with the production of I Spy, the first series to have 2 actors of different races sharing lead responsibilities. In later years, Leonard eased off from his producer role and took on guest work in numerous shows, including an episode of The Facts of Life, which saw him playing boarding school student Joe's Polish grandfather.
I haven't seen you since I was 7.
The 15 years looks better on you.
He died of natural causes at the age of 89. For the record, there's no genealogical relationship between 70s actor Bill Macy and Shameless lead William H. Macy. According to the Seattle Times, the latter actor once answered to Bill Macy, but changed it when starting out in his acting career to avoid confusion with the star of the politically charged 70s sitcom Maude. At the time, Macy was a huge deal on Maude, playing Walter Findlay, Maude's husband. That hard-done-by portrayal, however, totally belied another endeavor in his resume dating back to 1969, when he acted in a gutsy, all-nude Broadway production of Oh, Calcutta, where he met his future wife, Samantha Harper. Macy's sole appearance in The Facts of Life saw him as the ex-husband of boarding school student Joe in a futuristic episode.
I want us to get back together.
Did your brain fall out with your hair?
He landed other TV spots on shows like St. Elsewhere and The Love Boat. Meanwhile, Macy's movie roles got larger, from his uncredited debut as a jury foreman in the Mel Brooks comedy The Producers to a supporting role as Stan Fox in The Jerk, Steve Martin's first movie. Macy died at the age of 97. Out of all the bullheaded weirdos that have rounded out casts over the decades, few were as convincingly psychotic as Kenneth Mars. Indeed, many remember him as the intense Transylvanian detective sporting a monocle over a glass eye in the Mel Brooks classic comedy Young Frankenstein in 1972. But probably his most stunning turn under the lights was as maniacal playwright Franz, whose Third Reich-inspired script launched a Broadway scam in the aforementioned Brooks classic The Producers in 1968. But the emotional energy he put into those arcane bits were more hilarious than horrifying, which made Mars a go-to guy for television. He regularly appeared as William W.D. Bud Price, the town nut job on the satirical talk show Fernwood Tonight, and played headmaster Mr. Harris, tasked with firing Mrs. Garrett over alleged alcoholism in The Facts of Life.
Word of your drunken spree has spread all over the campus.
He also enjoyed recurring roles in other sitcoms like Malcolm in the Middle and Will and Grace, even lending his voice to animated projects like The Little Mermaid and The Land Before Time. He died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 75. When The Facts of Life premiered in 1979, a few members of the Different Strokes cast showed up to make the spin-off transition a little easier. One of those was Dana Plato, who played Drummond's daughter, Kimberly. While she only appeared in one episode of The Facts of Life, the actor enjoyed a good deal of success thanks to Different Strokes. That is, until she was written out of the main cast due to her personal struggles. By the time the series ended, Plato was no longer a child star and tried to scrape together a living with small roles in low-budget, B-level films. She had also developed a drug addiction and resorted to a life of crime to support the habit. She received probation after getting caught robbing a Las Vegas video store and later forging prescriptions forms. Back in 1992, she told reporters, "If I hadn't gotten caught, it could have been the worst thing that happened to me because I could have died of a drug overdose." Unfortunately, 7 years later, that's exactly what happened when the 34-year-old was found dead from an opioid overdose. Donnelly Rhodes never enjoyed marquee status in the US, but in his native Canada, Rhodes was a huge deal, starring in domestic dramas that included Danger Bay and Da Vinci's Inquest. He made his mark on several US productions as well, including recurring roles in the 2000s reboot of Battlestar Galactica and the melodrama satire Soap during the 70s. But his extensive TV resume dates even further back to the 50s and 60s, when he scored appearances on legendary shows like Maverick and Bonanza. Among his first cameos after leaving Soap was playing Joe's Uncle Sal in one episode of The Facts of Life. Rhodes' last set of gigs saw him portraying Agent Smith in two CW series, The Flash and DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Rhodes died of cancer at age 80 in 2018. You might not recall Alex Rocco by name, but you'll likely remember his portrayal of Mo Green, a crooked casino magnate in the 1972 classic The Godfather. Rocco actually had a huge body of work over 50 years in show business, his steadiest of which being in the series The Famous Teddy Z, which garnered him an Emmy Award for playing sleazy talent agent Al Floss. Many of his TV gigs involved him playing a sharp-witted tough guy in shows like The Rockford Files and Kojak, a demeanor he developed as a kid growing up among street gangs in Boston. But he wasn't afraid to show a more tender side, playing the patriarch in the short-lived 1975 family drama 3 for the Road, and several recurring appearances as Joe's father Charlie in The Facts of Life. He continued with TV work, including voiceover appearances in The Simpsons as entertainment executive Roger Myers Jr., up until his death in 2015. When Rocco died of cancer at 79, actor Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who starred with him in Magic City, said in part, "For those of us lucky enough to get to know Rocco, we were blessed." Back in the 50s, Bobby Rydell became one of rock and roll's first musical heartthrobs, with hits that included Wild One and We Got Love. But Hollywood beckoned, and before long, Rydell was paired up with Anne Margaret in the 1963 film version of Bye Bye Birdie. Rydell continued on the club circuit throughout the 60s, and he managed to land a few TV appearances along the way. He landed a role playing himself in a special flashback episode of The Facts of Life.
La 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 la.
In the 80s, Rydell teamed up to create a touring production called The Golden Boys, featuring himself and fellow 50s heartthrobs Fabian and Frankie Avalon, which continued to run until his death at 79 from complications with pneumonia. Dick Van Patten became the ultimate father figure, playing Tom Bradford in the 70s comedy drama 8 is Enough, but he played in other familial scenarios too, like portraying the ex-husband of housemother Beverly Ann Stickle in one episode of The Facts of Life. Van Patten was known for his versatility as an actor, having begun his career in 1949 with the show Mama, a drama about a family of immigrants that lasted for 8 seasons. He followed that up with single episode appearances in a number of shows throughout the 60s and 70s, but Van Patten came into his own, playing oddball characters like Friar Tuck in When Things Were Rotten. He was also a casting favorite for director Mel Brooks, who had him in comedic outings like Spaceballs and Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Van Patten died from complications with diabetes at 86. His publicist, Jeff Ballard, called him the kindest man you could ever meet in life and said, "They don't make them like him anymore."